I stood in the hallway of our cozy two-story house in Burlington, Vermont, my heart stopping at the sound of my daughter's laughter spilling from the den. It wasn't the sweet, carefree giggle I used to hold dear. This was sharp, biting, almost vicious. God, he's so oblivious. Chloe's voice sliced through the air, clear as day through the flimsy walls. At 16, my oldest had a way of talking that could shred you to pieces. Too dense to see it coming, Sophie, just 14, chimed in with a snicker. Mom says he really believes we care about him. Like, ouch. The folder in my hand, my latest stab at juggling our tight budget, suddenly weighed a ton. For 3 years, I'd been grinding through 2 jobs, dragging myself home bone-tired every night to a family that barely noticed I existed. The warehouse gig paid all right, but the late shift at the auto parts store was what kept our heads above water. Every inch of my 42-year-old body screamed with pain, but I never griped. Not once. "Dinner, girls," Amanda's voice called from the kitchen, plates clinking in the background. I forced my legs to move, my work boots thudding on the oak floor. The dining room felt like a freezer, even though September's warmth still hung over our little Vermont town. Amanda didn't even glance up as I walked in, her eyes glued to her phone. Her auburn hair, always styled to perfection despite her claims of being too worn out to job hunt, shimmered under the chandelier. "How's your day been, sweetheart?" I asked, dropping into my usual chair. "All right," she muttered, not looking up, her reply as automatic as a vending machine. My mother-in-law, Evelyn, swept in from the kitchen with a steaming lasagna pan, her gray hair tied back in that severe knot she always wore. She'd been crashing with us for 9 months now, ever since her condo lease ran out in Concord, New Hampshire. What was supposed to be a short stay had turned into forever, and Amanda had shut down my objections, insisting family comes first. "Mark," Evelyn said, her voice dripping with that special kind of scorn she'd mastered over our 19-year marriage. "We need to talk about some serious changes around here." "What kind of changes?" I asked, my gut twisting at the smug curve of her lips. Amanda finally peeled her eyes from her phone, sharing a loaded look with her mom. "Oh, just some tweaks to how things run," she said, her tone heavy with something unspoken. The air felt thick, like a storm was brewing. Lately, I've been catching these cryptic exchanges more often. Quick glances, half-spoken sentences, conversations that died when I stepped into a room. "Can you be clearer?" I pushed, my voice tighter than I meant it to be. "Don't stress about it," Chloe said, slinking into her seat with that teenage sneer I'd come to dread. "You'll catch on eventually, or not." Sophie let out another giggle, and something inside me shriveled. When did my family turn into strangers? When had warmth morphed into this icy, scheming distance? After dinner, I escaped to the shed out back, my one refuge in a house that no longer felt like mine. The familiar scent of grease and pine shavings usually grounded me, but tonight even that felt off. I pulled out my phone, thumbing through my contacts, desperate for someone to talk to, someone who might give a damn about the growing void in my chest. The list was pitifully short. Back inside, I headed for the bedroom, pausing outside Chloe's door when I heard her voice. "No, for real, Mom's got it all planned out," she was saying, probably to a friend on the phone. "He's clueless. She's going to take everything. The house, his retirement fund, even his pickup. He's so pathetic, he'll probably just let it happen." My hand froze on the bedroom doorknob. My retirement fund? The one I'd been building for 24 years? The one meant to keep us secure? The best part is, Mom says if he fights back, she'll just claim he's unhinged or something. Like, who's going to believe him over her? He's just some warehouse grunt who can barely talk straight. The cold cruelty in my daughter's voice hit me like a punch. I stumbled into the bedroom, where Amanda was already in bed, her back to me, her phone glowing under the covers. "Amanda," I whispered, my voice barely holding together. "I'm sleeping," she snapped, though her screen's light betrayed her. I lay there until 4 a.m., staring at the ceiling, piecing together every odd moment from the past months. The picture forming in my head was one I didn't want to face. The next morning, the house was empty. A note on the kitchen island said Amanda had taken the girls shopping in Montpelier and wouldn't be back till late. I wandered the rooms, seeing them differently. When did the family pictures start vanishing? When had Amanda stopped wearing her wedding band? In the den, Sophie's tablet sat abandoned on the coffee table. I worked overtime for 3 months last Christmas to buy it for her. Now it felt like a slap in the face, another failed attempt to earn love that was never real. Something made me pick it up. The screen was still unlocked, open to some messaging app I didn't know. My gut screamed to put it down, but a spark of self-preservation pushed me to scroll. What I saw turned my blood cold. A group chat called New Start with 5 people. Amanda, Chloe, Sophie, Evelyn, and some guy named Victor. A name I didn't know. The messages stretched back months. Amanda. He suspects nothing, still slaving away at both jobs like a good little worker bee. Evelyn. Keep the girls piling on the disrespect. We need him broken when we make our move. Chloe. Too easy. He's such a loser. It's almost fun. Victor. Push him till he cracks. Record it. It'll help in court. Amanda. My attorney says if we document his temper, I can get full custody and alimony. Sophie. What if I don't want to lie about him grabbing us? Evelyn. You'll do what your mother says. This man's been draining us for years. Victor. Stick to the plan. A few more months and he's gone for good. My hands trembled as I scrolled through weeks of messages, plans to clean out my savings, fake abuse claims, and turn my own kids into pawns against me. They dissected my routines, my quirks, even the cracks in my heart with the precision of chess players plotting a checkmate. In the latest messages, they tossed around ideas. Should they stash drugs in my truck or just wait for me to break? Either way, he's done, Amanda wrote, her words cold as steel. 19 years of faking love for that sorry excuse of a man is finally paying off. The tablet slipped from my shaking hands, crashing onto the floor with a sound that rang through the silent house like a gunshot. I printed every message, my fingers moving on instinct while my brain spun. 19 years, my whole adult life, a sham, and now my family was scheming to tear down what little I had left. Tucking the printed pages into a lockbox in my shed, I felt something inside me snap. The guy who'd spent 2 decades chasing their approval was fading, replaced by something tougher, sharper. I slipped a voice recorder into a drawer under the kitchen counter just as the front door swung open, familiar voices flooding the house. Chloe's mocking laughter, Amanda's offhand orders, Evelyn's cutting remarks. They'd made their choice long ago. Now I had to make mine. So I'm the punchline, I muttered to myself, the words tasting like a strange kind of liberty. 3 days later, the recorder caught what I needed. In the break room at the auto parts store in Burlington, Vermont, during my night shift, I listened through earbuds, my coffee going cold as my family's true voices filled my ears. Mom says he's just a bank account. Chloe's voice crackled from yesterday's recording. Wait till she gets his retirement fund. She's going to drain him dry. What about Sophie? Evelyn asked. Is she still hesitating? She'll do what I say, Amanda replied, cool and certain. Kids follow orders. What's she going to do? Pick him over us? I deleted the recording from the device and uploaded it to a secure cloud account my buddy Travis set up for me. Travis Reed, my closest friend from the warehouse, had been through his own nasty divorce. A former Navy guy with a no-nonsense attitude, he'd been my rock for 6 years. You sure you want to go there? He'd asked when I first spilled the truth. Once you start, there's no turning back. There was never anything to go back to, I'd said. I was just too blind to see it. Standing under the harsh break room lights, that reality sank deeper into my bones. I wasn't the same guy who found that group chat a week ago. That guy still clung to hope, still thought he could fix things. This guy knew better. My phone pinged with a text from Amanda. Working late again? We miss you. Those words used to make me drop everything and race home. Now I just deleted the message and clocked out. The next day, my world blew apart at the girls' school. It started with a video, grainy cell phone footage of Amanda kissing some guy I didn't know in the parking lot of a community center in Montpelier. The man looked younger, maybe 32, with the kind of smug charm that comes from never having to hustle 2 jobs to keep a family afloat. By noon, the video was viral. Kids shared it on social media, parents gossiped in pickup lines, and my phone buzzed with texts from strangers. Mr. Thompson, said Principal Hargrove, a wiry guy in his 50s who'd always been polite at parent-teacher meetings. Now he looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Can we talk in private? In his office, the video looped on his computer screen for the 4th time. I'm sorry you had to see this, Hargrove said, choosing his words carefully. The student who recorded it, she's in Chloe's grade. She says Chloe was there when it happened. My throat burned. Did Chloe know it was being filmed? I asked. Hargrove's silence said it all. She planned it, I said, my voice flat, hollow. My own daughter. Mr. Thompson, I can't comment on your family situation, but I assure you, this won't affect how we treat your girls here. I almost laughed. Don't worry. They won't be your problem much longer. That night, I sat at the kitchen table in our Burlington home, a stack of printed group chat messages in front of me, the voice recordings ready on my phone, and a folder with divorce papers I'd filed that morning with help from my sister Lauren. When Amanda walked in, she was already talking. "Mark, honey, I know this looks bad, but I can explain." "Sit down," I said, my voice low but steady. Something in my tone made her stop cold. Chloe and Sophie lingered in the doorway, and Evelyn appeared from the den, arms folded. "Mark," Amanda tried again, slipping into that sweet tone she used when she wanted something. "That video doesn't mean anything. Victor's just a guy from my Pilates class." I slid the printed messages across the table. Amanda's face drained of color as she scanned the first page of the printed messages. Chloe edged forward to peek over her shoulder, and I watched her smug grin waver. 19 years of faking love for that sorry excuse of a man, I read aloud, my voice steady as a rock. "Finally paying off. Your words, Amanda. Straight from your phone to your little crew." "You hacked my private messages," she snapped, her outrage almost impressive. "That's illegal, Mark. I could have you locked up." "Actually, it's Sophie's tablet, paid for with my data plan, which makes it fair game," I said, calm as a winter morning. "But go on, keep talking. I'm recording this too." The kitchen went dead quiet, save for the soft hum of the fridge. "Here's the deal," I said, rising slowly. "You're all packing your bags tonight and getting out of my house." Amanda's shock twisted into a harsh laugh. "Your house? Mark, darling, I'm about to own more than half of everything you've got once the court hears about your temper." "What temper?" I asked, voice mild. "The one you're hoping I'll develop?" Chloe stepped forward, her confidence flaring back. "Yeah, Mom, when you tell everyone how he scared us, right?" I looked at my eldest, really looked, and saw a stranger staring back. "The worst part," I said, "I loved you both, even when you made it clear you despised me. I kept hoping someday—" I shook my head, letting the thought die. "You want to play dirty? All right, let's play." I pulled out my phone and hit speed dial. "Lauren? Yeah, it's time. File it all." "Who's Lauren?" Evelyn demanded, her voice sharp as a blade. "My sister. She's a paralegal. Been at it for 16 years, I said, a grin creeping across my face for the first time in weeks. "Turns out she's damn good at her job." Amanda's phone rang. She answered with trembling hands, and I watched her expression collapse as her lawyer explained I'd beaten her to the courthouse by half a day. "That's impossible," she whispered. "He can't afford a lawyer." "Turns out I can," I said. "When you're not blowing money on a family that hates you, you save a lot." I gathered the papers. "I've been planning this for a week. You've been at it for months. Let's see who plans smarter." Evelyn lunged forward, her face twisted with fury. "You ungrateful—" Her hand cracked across my face, the slap echoing in the stunned silence. I touched my cheek, feeling the burn, and smiled. "Thanks," I said softly. "I was hoping you'd give me something like that." I stopped the recording on my phone. Assault, caught on tape, with witnesses. Evelyn's face went pale as ash. "Get out of my house," I said. "All of you. Tonight." "This isn't over," Amanda hissed, snatching her purse. "I'll ruin you in court. I'll take everything." "You already tried to take it all," I shot back. "The difference is, I've got proof of who you are. All you've got are lies about who I'm not." As they shuffled out, Chloe turned back, venom in her eyes. "Can't wait to see your face when Mom cleans you out," she spat. I looked at the girl I'd once carried piggyback, whose skinned elbows I'd patched up, whose bad dreams I'd soothed with goofy stories and hot cocoa. "I'm looking forward to seeing yours when she doesn't," I said. After they left, I sat alone in the kitchen, the silence wrapping around me like a warm blanket. For the first time in months, my Burlington home felt like mine again. My phone buzzed with a text from Travis. "How'd it go?" "Just like I planned," I typed back. "Phase 1's done." Lauren Thompson Hayes was everything I wasn't: sharp-witted, fiercely organized, and merciless when it came to protecting family. At 39, she'd climbed from receptionist to senior paralegal at one of Montpellier's top family law firms. She'd been waiting 16 years for me to stand up for myself. "I never liked her," Lauren said, spreading documents across my kitchen table like a tactician plotting a battle. "From the day you brought her home, I knew she was bad news, but you were so damn set on seeing the best in people." "Yeah, well, that's over," I said, pouring us both coffee. It was 6 a.m. on a Saturday, but Lauren had been on my case since sunrise. "Good, because Amanda's lawyer is Martin Voss, and he's a predator." she said, holding up a thick file. He loves gutting working-class guys like you, but he's never faced a client who documented everything before filing. I'd spent the week since they left gathering evidence with laser focus. Every bank statement, every text, every scrap I could legally get my hands on was copied, sorted, and filed with the precision of a man who'd finally found his fight. The group chat is a goldmine, Lauren went on. Conspiracy to commit fraud, parental alienation, emotional abuse. This is brutal. Voss is gonna choke trying to defend this. And the recordings? She held up a transcript of the kitchen showdown where Chloe and Amanda talked about faking abuse claims for court. This is criminal territory, Mark. They weren't just planning a divorce, they were trying to frame you. I stared at the papers, a cold fury rising in my chest. So what's our plan? Total war, Lauren said without missing a beat. They started this fight months ago. We're just going to end it. The strategy was clean and simple. I'd already moved my money to accounts Amanda couldn't touch. Legal, since the joint accounts held only my earnings, and Vermont law allowed protective moves when fraud was suspected. My retirement fund was shielded by federal rules Amanda's lawyer clearly hadn't bothered to check. The house is the only thing they can really go after, Lauren explained, her voice steady as she leaned over my kitchen table in Burlington, Vermont. But with the documented conspiracy and Evelyn living here rent-free while scheming to scam you, we can argue she's been unjustly enriched. Judge Margaret Voss loathes that kind of deceit. Judge Voss was known for her meticulous rulings and zero tolerance for courtroom lies. My preliminary hearing was set for next week. What about the girls? I asked, my voice low. Lauren's sharp edges softened a bit. Sophie's a minor, so the court will want her direct input, especially since those messages show she wasn't fully on board with their fraud. Chloe's 16, old enough to pick a side, but those texts where she brags about staging that cheating video will tank her credibility. That afternoon, I took a drive past the remnants of my old life. The cramped rental where Amanda and the girls were holed up in St. Albans screamed temporary, a fallback for people who'd bet big and lost. Amanda's car, which I was no longer on the hook for, sat in the driveway, with an expired registration sticker glaring back at me. My phone pinged with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. I deleted it without a second thought. That evening at the gym, Travis kept an eye on me as I pushed through a grueling workout. The warehouse had always kept me strong, but this past week, I'd been channeling my rage into lifting with a focus that felt almost holy. You're gonna crash hard, Travis warned, watching me stack another plate on the bar. I'm good, I grunted, heaving the weight up. No, you're not. You're running on fury and vengeance, and that's a short fuse. He grabbed my arm as I reached for more weight. When's the last time you ate something that didn't come from a wrapper? Or slept more than a few hours? I wanted to argue, but Travis was right. I'd been living on energy bars and black coffee, fueled by a restless drive that was starting to wear me thin. Come on, he said. We're getting real food, and you're going to tell me what you're actually aiming for here. Over wings at a hole-in-the-wall bar across town, I finally let it all spill. For 19 years, I tried to be the guy they wanted, I said, staring at my untouched plate. Quiet, dependable, grateful for any crumb of affection. I thought if I worked hard enough, gave up enough, they'd love me back. Now I see they never did. The guy they said they wanted was just a useful lie, someone to foot the bills and take the fall. I took a bite of a wing, the heat waking me up. So that guy's gone, and I'm not bringing him back. Travis studied me, seeing something new in my eyes, a steel forged from hard truths. What happens after you win in court, he asked. When Amanda and the girls are out of your life for good? A month ago, the thought of losing them would have crushed me. Now it felt like the inevitable result of their choices. I build something real, I said finally, something worth having. My phone rang, cutting through the moment. Lauren's name flashed on the screen. Mark, we've got trouble, she said, no preamble. Amanda just filed for a restraining order, claiming you threatened her and the girls during last week's showdown. My newfound calm flickered. Any proof? Just her word against yours. But Mark, she's got a bruise on her face, photos and all. That's impossible, I said. I never laid a hand on her. I believe you, Lauren said, but the judge will see those photos. Hold on. You said you recorded that kitchen conversation, right? You still have it? Yeah. Get home now and don't open your door for anyone. I drove back through streets that suddenly felt like a minefield. Every cop car a potential ambush. But when I pulled up to my house, something unexpected was waiting. a manila envelope taped to my front door. Inside were screenshots from a neighbor's security camera, complete with timestamps showing my front yard during the week Amanda claimed I'd threatened her. A scribbled note read, "Figured you might need these. Jim Carver, 1423 Maple Lane." Jim, a retired deputy who'd lived across the street for decades, wasn't someone I'd ever been tight with, though I'd helped him fix his garage door last spring. The screenshots showed me leaving for work at my usual time every day that week, with no sign of any confrontation in my yard or driveway. More importantly, they caught Amanda pulling up to the house on Wednesday afternoon, 2 days after her supposed threat, and leaving 20 minutes later, holding what looked like a cold pack to her face. I called Lauren right away. "She faked it," Lauren said after I described the images. "She gave herself that bruise and lied about when it happened. This is going to blow up in her face." "How can you be sure?" "Because Judge Voss has seen every trick in the book, and she despises fake abuse claims. They hurt real victims." Lauren's voice carried a fierce edge of triumph. "Amanda just handed us the key to shredding her credibility." That night, I lay awake in my quiet house, staring at the ceiling, grappling with the weight of what was unfolding. In a single week, I'd gone from prey to predator, and there was no going back. My phone buzzed with a text from another unknown number. "Think you're clever? We'll see who's laughing when this is over." I grinned in the dark and typed back, "I already know who'll be laughing. The question is whether you'll be around to see it." I sent it, blocked the number, and powered off my phone. Tomorrow, the real fight will start. The courtroom was smaller than I'd pictured, its fluorescent lights casting a sickly glow over everyone. Judge Margaret Voss sat behind a towering bench, her gray hair pulled into a tight knot that matched her no-nonsense reputation. Amanda sat at the plaintiff's table with her lawyer, Martin Voss, a slick guy in his 50s who oozed the kind of self-assurance that comes with a $400 an hour price tag. She'd dressed for the part, modest sweater, subtle makeup, and a fading bruise on her cheek that looked perfectly pitiful under the courtroom's harsh lights. I sat with Lauren and her boss, Susan Lee, a no-nonsense attorney who jumped on my case after seeing the evidence. The restraining order hearing had been fast-tracked because of Amanda's supposed abuse claims, but Susan had persuaded the judge to tackle temporary custody and financial support in the same session. "Your Honor," Voss began, his voice dripping with practiced pity, "my client has suffered years of emotional and financial control from a man who's now turned to physical violence. Mrs. Thompson fears for her safety and that of her children." He presented photos of Amanda's bruise with a flourish, spinning a tale of me as a classic abuser, controlling, manipulative, dangerous. Listening to my life twisted into a story of oppression was surreal. Voss was good, weaving truth and lies so seamlessly I almost admired it. My long hours at the warehouse became a scheme to isolate Amanda. My careful budgeting was painted as financial abuse. My discovery of their plot was spun as paranoid ravings. "Moreover," Voss pressed on, "Mr. Thompson has illegally spied on his family, invading their privacy by accessing personal messages and shirking his duties as a husband and father." When it was Susan's turn, she strolled to the bench like she was holding a winning lottery ticket. "Your Honor, the petitioner's claims aren't just false, they're criminal fraud." She set a thick folder on the judge's desk. "We have overwhelming evidence that Mrs. Thompson and her co-conspirators orchestrated this scheme for months." The group chat messages landed like a thunderclap. Susan read key parts aloud, her tone flat and factual, laying out their plan to drain my finances and frame me for abuse. "Push him till he cracks," Susan quoted. "Record it. Use it in court." These are Mrs. Thompson's own words, sent to her mother, her daughters, and her lover to fabricate evidence. Judge Margaret Voss's face grew harder with every piece of evidence. The voice recordings, the neighbor's security footage, the timeline proving Amanda faked her bruise. "Mrs. Thompson," the judge said, her voice slicing through the room's tension, "are you claiming these messages are fake?" Amanda shot a panicked glance at her lawyer. "Your Honor, they're taken out of context. My husband was growing unstable, and we were worried." "Ma'am," Judge Voss cut in, "I've been on this bench for 18 years. I've seen real domestic violence, and I've seen people fake it for leverage. This," she held up the printed messages, "is fraud." Her eyes turned to me. "Mr. Thompson, your choice to record conversations in your home was legally sound, but I'm concerned about the emotional toll this has taken on your children." "Your Honor," I said, speaking up for the first time, "my youngest, Sophie, didn't want to be part of their scheme. I think she was pressured. I'd like to talk to both girls in private, if possible." The next hour dragged on forever. I sat in the hallway outside the courtroom in Burlington, Vermont, trying to read Lauren's expression for any hint of what was happening. When we returned, Sophie's eyes were puffy from tears, while Chloe held her defiant stance, though she looked rattled. Based on my interviews with the minors, Judge Voss announced, I'm granting Mr. Thompson temporary custody of Sophie, age 14. She expressed genuine regret for her role in what she called her mother's plan, and I believe she was coerced. Amanda gasped, loud enough to echo. Your Honor, you can't. Mrs. Thompson, the judge warned, her tone sharp as a blade. You're already in deep water. I suggest you stay quiet. She turned to Chloe. Miss Thompson, at 16, you're old enough to understand your actions. The evidence shows you willingly helped create and spread that video of your mother's affair to humiliate your father. Is that correct? Chloe's lawyer had told her to stay silent, but her teenage bravado won out. He had it coming, she snapped. He's pathetic. Mom deserves better than some loser who… Enough, Judge Voss cut her off. Miss Thompson, you'll stay in your mother's custody, as that's your choice, but your actions show a troubling lack of judgment. The judge's final ruling hit Amanda's case like a wrecking ball. The restraining order was thrown out with prejudice, meaning she could never refile it. I got temporary custody of Sophie, exclusive use of our Burlington, Vermont home, and a shield against any more financial meddling. Mrs. Thompson, Judge Margaret Voss said, her voice firm, you have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. The evidence points to fraud, perjury, and possible criminal conspiracy. I'm sending this to the prosecutor's office for review. As the courtroom emptied, a feeling I hadn't known in months washed over me. Hope. Sophie shuffled toward me, her face streaked with tears. Dad, she whispered, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you, but Mom said if I didn't play along, she'd make sure I never saw you again. I knelt down, seeing my youngest clearly for the first time in ages. Beneath the teenage defiance, she was still the kid who used to hand me wrenches in the shed. It's all right, sweetheart, I said softly. We'll work through this together. Leaving the courthouse, my phone lit up with notifications. Local news had caught wind of the hearing, court reporters were there, and the New Start conspiracy was already spreading online. By dinner, my phone was buzzing nonstop with calls from journalists, neighbors, and old friends I hadn't heard from in years. The story hit a nerve, especially with divorced dads who saw their own struggles in mine. Dad, Sophie said over dinner in our quiet kitchen, are you going to be famous now? I chewed on that for a moment. Fame wasn't the goal, but attention could be useful. Maybe, I said. Would that bug you? She shook her head. People should know what Mom did. Other kids need to hear it's not okay to hurt your parents just because someone tells you to. That night, I sat in my shed, surrounded by tools and half-built projects that suddenly felt alive again. My phone showed dozens of missed calls and texts, but I ignored them all except one from Travis. Saw the news. You nailed it, man. How's it feeling? I typed back, like a start, not a finish. I was right. Overnight, the story blew up. I woke to find it trending across social media, hashtags like Wanchan New Start Exposed and Justice for Mark racing across the internet. Someone with courthouse access, not me, I'd been careful to keep the group chat messages for court only, had leaked them. By 7 a.m., news vans clogged my driveway. Mr. Thompson, a reporter shouted, shoving a mic in my face as I headed to work. How does it feel to be vindicated? I'm not there yet, I said, sticking to the media plan Lauren had sketched out over a quick call. I'm just glad the truth's coming out. The coverage was heavily in my favor. It had all the makings of a blockbuster. A hard-working guy like me, a scheming conspiracy straight out of a movie, and evidence so airtight it read like a crime novel. Editorials praised my thorough approach, and social media flooded with support from dads who'd been through similar betrayals. But the spotlight had its downsides. Amanda lost her part-time gig at a health insurance office in St. Albans. The viral story, paired with her boss finding out she'd been plotting her new start on company time, made her untouchable. Evelyn faced her own fallout. Her church, a tight-knit group in Montpelier that frowned on deceit, asked her to step down from her role on the community outreach board. Old friends dodged her in the supermarket aisles. Even Chloe was struggling. The video of her mom's affair, which she'd helped spread, kept circulating at school, now tied to the bigger story of their family's betrayal. Classmates shunned her, not wanting to be linked to someone who'd so publicly stabbed her dad in the back. She's been ditching school, Sophie told me over breakfast. Mom says she's sick, but she just can't face everyone. I felt a messy mix of grim satisfaction and real sorrow. Chloe had made her bed, but she was still my kid, or at least she used to be. I didn't want this for her, I admitted to Sophie. I wanted better lives for all of you, not ruined ones. She tried to ruin yours first, Sophie said with that raw teenage honesty. Maybe she needs to learn that choices have consequences. The media frenzy grew when reporters dug deeper. They uncovered a darker pattern. Victor Hayes, Amanda's lover and co-conspirator, had a track record of preying on married women in shaky situations. Two other women came forward, sharing stories of how he'd coached them to fake abuse claims against their husbands for profit. He's a predator, Lauren said during one of our strategy sessions. He zeroes in on women in rocky marriages, pushes them to escalate for money, then bolts when the legal bills pile up. Sure enough, Victor had vanished. Apartment cleared out, phone cut off, social media wiped. Amanda was left not just humiliated and jobless, but abandoned by the guy she'd gambled everything for. I decided to take control of the narrative. If the story was public, I wanted to use it for something good, so I pitched a community meeting at the local library. It was time to turn this mess into something constructive. I'm not here for payback, I told the crowded library hall in Burlington, Vermont. Standing at a podium where I'd once sat through tedious community meetings, barely noticed by my own family. I'm here because what happened to me is happening to other dads, and their kids are being turned into tools against them. For 15 minutes, I talked about parental alienation, the harm done to kids coached to betray their parents, and how schools need to spot the red flags when families are being torn apart. The response hit me like a tidal wave. 3 fathers came up afterward, sharing their own tales of being cut off from their kids through similar schemes. 2 women confessed they'd seen behavior like Amanda's in their own circles but didn't know how to step in. You've kicked off something big, Travis said as we left the library. This is way beyond your family now. I nodded, feeling the weight of a role I hadn't asked for. Maybe getting crushed was just the first step. Maybe this is what I'm meant to do with it. The criminal investigation moved fast. Evelyn got nabbed first. Her attempt to forge financial papers in my name left a trail so clear that prosecutor Karen Lynn could have followed it blindfolded from her office in Montpelier. The charges stacked up: identity theft, forgery, and conspiracy to commit fraud. She actually tried to open a credit line with your social security number, Lauren said, laughing in disbelief. After all this, she thought she could still outsmart you. Amanda's arrest came 2 days later. Fraud, perjury, and conspiracy charges carried heavy penalties, and her lawyer was already scrambling for a plea deal. But the real gut punch came from an unexpected place. Dad, Sophie said one evening, her voice shaky, I need to tell you something about Mom and Victor. She pulled out her phone and showed me a video, grainy footage shot through a window. I recognized our bedroom in our Burlington house, the timestamp from 3 months ago, during one of my late shifts at the auto parts store. Chloe filmed this, Sophie said quietly. She was supposed to be at volleyball practice, but she came home early and caught them together. In your bed. I stared at the screen, watching Amanda betray me in the most personal way, in the bed where we'd once dreamed about our future. Why show me this? I asked, my voice tight. Because Chloe was going to use it in court, Sophie said. She thought if you saw it, you'd lose it and do something to prove you were dangerous. Her voice cracked. She wanted to break you completely. A cold, final weight settled in my chest. This wasn't just cheating or scheming. It was calculated cruelty meant to gut me. What stopped her? I asked. She didn't stop, Sophie said. I took her phone, deleted the video from her cloud, but kept a copy just in case. She looked up, her 14-year-old eyes far too old. I couldn't let her do that to you. Even when I was going along with Mom's plan, I couldn't let them hurt you like that. I pulled her into a hug, pride swelling for the first time in months. Thank you, I whispered, for having my back. I should have had it sooner, she said. I should have never gone along with any of it. I had Lauren lock the video away as evidence, making sure it'd never go public. Some wounds stay private, even in a fight with the public. A week later, an unexpected visitor showed up. Principal Hargrove stood on my doorstep, looking uneasy but resolute. Mr. Thompson, I owe you an apology, he said. When that first video of your wife and her friend in the community center lot came out, I assumed you were just a guy who'd let his marriage slip through neglect. What video? I asked, confused. The one of Amanda and that guy? Hargrove shifted uncomfortably. I figured you were a husband who didn't pay attention. Now I see you were the target of a calculated setup. I invited him in for coffee, curious about his angle. I've been an educator for 25 years, he said. I've seen plenty of family messes, but nothing like the coordinated attack your family pulled on you. Planning, weaponizing your own kids. He shook his head. There's more. Chloe came to me yesterday, asking to transfer schools because of the backlash. She's starting to get what she was part of. Kids aren't just mocking her for the video now. They're horrified by what she did to you. She's become a warning to others about turning on your parents. A spark of something, maybe hope, flickered in me. Is she asking to come home? No, Hargrove said gently, but she's asking if there's a way to fix what she's done. I told her some mistakes can't be undone, but you can learn from them. That evening, I sat in my shed with Sophie, both of us tinkering on a wooden planter we'd started months ago and abandoned. The familiar rhythm of working with my hands felt like medicine, and Sophie's quiet presence was a comfort I hadn't realized I needed. Dad, she said, not looking up from her standing, do you think you'll ever forgive Mom and Chloe? I thought it over carefully. Forgiveness and trust aren't the same, I said. I might forgive them someday for my own peace, but I'll never trust them again, and I won't let them back in to hurt me. What about me? She asked, her voice small. Do you trust me? I set down my tools and looked at her, really looked. She'd made awful choices, but she'd found the guts to stop. I'm starting to trust you again, I said honestly. Every day you show me you're choosing to be the person I always knew you could be. Sophie smiled, a real bright smile I hadn't seen in over a year. I want to be better than I was, she said. I want to be someone you're proud of. You already are, I said, and I meant it. Outside, a car crept past our house in Burlington, Vermont, probably reporters or nosy locals. My story had made me a fleeting celebrity, but fame was just a side effect of something bigger. Rebuilding my life from the rubble of betrayal. Tomorrow would bring fresh hurdles. Amanda's trial was still months off. Chloe stayed distant and resentful, and I was still figuring out how to be a single dad to a daughter rebuilding her moral compass. But tonight, in my shed, with Sophie humming quietly as we worked on our planter, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. The guy they tried to erase was gone, sure, but the man who'd stepped into his shoes was tougher, wiser, and free to become who I was always meant to be. 6 months after the courthouse bombshell, my life had settled into a rhythm I wouldn't have recognized a year ago. The media buzz had mostly died down, though I still got the occasional call from podcasters or family rights groups wanting to talk about my case. The biggest change was Sophie. The sullen teenager who'd gone along with her mom's scheme was slowly becoming a thoughtful young woman, hell-bent on making up for her past. I got in, she announced, bursting into the kitchen waving a letter. The summer program at the Youth Support Network. They want me to help with their teen mentoring project. I looked up from my coffee, pride swelling in my chest. Sophie had been volunteering with groups that support kids from broken homes, calling it her redemption work. That's amazing, kiddo, I said. You sure you're ready for that kind of heavy lifting? I know what it's like to be manipulated by adults who are supposed to protect you, she said, her voice serious. Maybe I can help other kids spot the warning signs before they do something they'll regret forever. Chloe, on the other hand, was a different story. Over the past 6 months, she'd sunk deeper into anger and isolation. She dropped out of high school just months shy of graduating and was crashing with Amanda in a dingy apartment on the rough side of St. Albans. She's working at a burger joint, Sophie told me over dinner one night. Chloe Thompson, who used to say she was too good for minimum wage jobs, is asking people if they want ketchup with their fries. I tried to feel some satisfaction at her downfall, but mostly it just hurt. Chloe was smart, capable. Her role in Amanda's plot came from arrogance and cruelty, not desperation. Does she ever ask about me? I said. Sophie shifted uncomfortably. Sometimes, but then she gets mad and says it's your fault her life's a mess. Her life's not a mess, I said firmly. She's 18 now. She can choose to learn from her mistakes and build something better, or stay bitter and point fingers. That's on her. Amanda's legal troubles kept piling up. Her criminal trial ended with convictions on 3 felony counts, but a plea deal kept her out of jail, community service, and hefty restitution payments instead. The civil lawsuit, Lauren's brainchild, to claw back the money Amanda had siphoned over the years, was a bigger win. The judge gave you everything you asked for, Lauren said during one of our catch-ups. The house, your savings, the retirement accounts, plus damages for emotional distress. Amanda's going to be paying you back for the next 15 years. What about Evelyn? I asked. Prison? 18 months, but she'll likely serve less than a year if she keeps her nose clean, Lauren said, her smile sharp. Identity theft's a federal crime, and the judge wasn't feeling generous toward a woman who tried to tank her son-in-law's credit while squatting in his house. The wildest twist was Victor's comeback. My story had caught the eye of law enforcement in 3 states, all digging into similar scams tied to him. When they nabbed him in Nevada, he was running the same con on another family. He's looking at serious federal time, Lauren explained. Mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy across state lines. The FBI says he's been at this for at least 5 years, maybe more. I felt a quiet, grim satisfaction, knowing Victor would pay for his predatory games. But mostly I was just glad he was out of our lives for good. The real change was in me. The broken guy who found that group chat 10 months ago was a ghost. In his place was someone steadier, more confident, and oddly at peace with this new reality. "You're not the same," Travis said during one of our weekly gym sessions. "Not just stronger physically, though you're that too. You hold yourself differently now." I nodded as I added plates to the barbell. I spent 19 years trying to earn love from people who couldn't give it. Now I know better. "So what's next?" he asked. "Are you staying single forever?" It was a question I'd been wrestling with. At 43, I wasn't old, and the attention from my story had brought unexpected interest. Women messaged me online, and I'd been asked out by a few kind, grounded people. "Not ready yet," I admitted. "I need to trust my own instincts before I jump into anything new." "Fair," Travis said, "but don't wait too long. You've got a lot to give someone who's worth it." My phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. "Emergency at school. Can you pick me up?" 20 minutes later, I found her in the principal's office, her face red with anger and the start of a bruise under her eye. "What happened?" I asked, checking her for more injuries. "Chloe happened," she said, jaw tight. "She showed up at lunch and started yelling at me in front of everyone. She called me a traitor, said I wrecked our family," Sophie said, her voice tight as she sat in Principal Hargrove's office in Burlington, Vermont. Hargrove looked uneasy. "Mr. Thompson, we've had to bar Chloe from campus. This is the 3rd time she's shown up to harass Sophie. We're considering a restraining order." I gently tilted Sophie's chin to check her bruised eye. "Did she hit you?" "I hit her back," Sophie said, defiance flashing in her eyes. "She grabbed me, shook me, called me names, so I socked her in the nose." Despite the weight of the moment, I felt a spark of pride. Sophie was learning to stand up for herself, body and soul. "Are you pressing charges?" Hargrove asked. I looked at Sophie, seeing the resolve in her gaze. "What do you want to do, kiddo?" "I want her to leave me alone," she said firmly. "I want to finish high school without my sister jumping me for telling the truth." I nodded. "Then yeah, we're pressing charges, and we want that restraining order." That evening, as we sat in the living room with an ice pack on Sophie's eye, my phone rang. Amanda's name flashed on the screen, the first time she'd called in months. "Don't pick up," Sophie warned, but curiosity got the better of me. I put it on speaker. "Mark," Amanda's voice came through, softer, more brittle than I remembered. "I heard about the school thing. I'm sorry. She's not coping well." "That's not my problem anymore," I said, keeping my tone even. "I know you hate me," she went on, her voice cracking. "I deserve it. But Chloe's your daughter too. She's falling apart. Maybe if you talk to her—" "No," I cut her off, firm but not harsh. "I spent 18 years trying to guide Chloe into being a better person. She chose her path. Now she lives with it. She was just a kid, Mark, following my lead. She was old enough to know right from wrong, old enough to choose cruelty over kindness." I paused, collecting my thoughts. "You want to help her? Teach her to own her choices, not make excuses." Silence hung on the line. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," Amanda said finally. "I thought I could have it all. Your stability, Victor's thrill. I thought I was clever enough to juggle it." "You were clever," I said, "but not wise enough to see that some betrayals can't be undone." I hung up and Sophie looked at me, almost in awe. "How do you stay so calm with her?" she asked. "Because anger's what she expects," I said, a faint smile tugging at my lips. "She's banking on me being the broken guy she could guilt trip and manipulate. But I'm not him anymore, and that scares her more than any outburst could." A week later, a letter arrived, the return address in Chloe's careful handwriting, the kind I remembered from her childhood art projects. "Dad," it began, "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say some stuff. I've been thinking about everything, and I know everyone expects me to grovel and beg for forgiveness, but I'm not there yet. I'm not sure I'm sorry for the right reasons. I'm sorry I got caught, sorry my life's a mess, sorry people look at me like I'm a villain. But I don't know if I'm sorry for what we did to you. Because I still don't get why you deserve better than what we gave you. Sophie says you've changed, that you're stronger now, happier without us. She says you don't need us anymore, and that's why you won't forgive us. Maybe she's right. I know we can't go back. I know I made choices that can't be undone. But someday if I figure out how to be a better person, I might want to try to make things right. This isn't an apology because I'm not ready for that. It's just me saying I know what we lost, and I know I'm partly to blame. Chloe, I read it twice, then passed it to Sophie. She's starting to get it, Sophie said after scanning it. Not there yet, but starting, maybe. Maybe, I agreed. But getting it and changing are two different things. Even if she changes, that doesn't mean she gets a free pass back into our lives. Would you ever consider it if she really turned herself around? Sophie asked. I thought hard about it. I might forgive her someday, for my own peace, I said. But trust, the kind you need for a real relationship, that's a long shot. Trust like that is gone for good. That night I sat in my shed in Burlington, Vermont, sanding a wooden bench I was crafting for Sophie's upcoming graduation gift. The steady rhythm of the work had become my therapy, a way to sift through the tangled feelings that still surfaced when I thought about my old family. My phone buzzed with a text from Travis. Saw Victor's sentencing on the news. 7 years in federal lockup. Figured you'd want to know. I grinned tightly and typed back, good, one less predator out there. As I kept working, I thought about how far I'd come. A year ago, I was a broken man, scrambling to hold together a family that was hell-bent on tearing me apart. Now I was building something real, a bond with Sophie rooted in truth and respect, a job that gave me purpose and a sense of worth no one could strip away. The guy they tried to wipe out was gone, but the man who'd stepped up was the one I was always meant to be. A year after the courthouse drama, I stood in front of a packed lecture hall at the University of Vermont, giving the keynote speech at a conference on parental alienation and family court reform. The nervous guy who used to stumble through community meetings was long gone, replaced by someone who held the room with quiet confidence, not loud bravado. The system's not broken by mistake, I told the crowd of attorneys, judges, and advocates. It's built to thrive on chaos. Disorder means billable hours, and real justice threatens the machine. My nonprofit, Dad's Rising, had grown from a small blog into a national network offering legal tools, emotional support, and advocacy training for men in my shoes. The work was heavy, but every case we helped felt like a small win against the system that nearly crushed me. Mr. Thompson, a reporter said after my talk, your stories inspired thousands of dads to push back against manipulation and fraud. What's your advice for men just realizing they're being betrayed? Document everything, I said. Trust your gut. And being a good man doesn't mean being a pushover. The people who truly care about you won't demand you sacrifice your self-respect to earn their love. Sophie, now 15 and gearing up for her sophomore year, had become my unofficial partner in Dad's Rising. Her experience as a kid weaponized against her own dad gave her a perspective adult advocates couldn't match. Lots of kids don't see they're being played, she said during a panel on kids in high-conflict divorces. They think they're protecting the victim's parents, not realizing they're being turned into emotional pawns. Her growth was incredible. The moody, resentful teen from 2 years ago had become a poised young woman with a sharp moral compass and a maturity beyond her years. I want to be a family lawyer, she told me over dinner one night. I want to help kids stuck in messes like ours. Pride surged through me, mixed with worry. That's tough work, emotionally, I said. You sure you're up for it? I'm more ready than most, she said thoughtfully. I know what it's like to be manipulated into betraying someone you love, and what it's like to be betrayed by the people who should protect you. Amanda's legal saga had finally wrapped up. She'd served her community service and was juggling 2 part-time jobs to cover restitution payments, living in low-income housing with Chloe in St. Albans. They're both struggling, Lauren said during one of our quarterly check-ins. Amanda's basically restarting her life at 42, and Chloe's trapped in a loop of anger and self-pity. Have they tried reaching out to Sophie? I asked. Not since the restraining order, Lauren said, though Chloe sometimes sends messages through mutual friends. Sophie usually ignores them. I nodded, glad Sophie had learned to guard her emotional boundaries. Keeping contact with people who deliberately hurt her wasn't loyalty. It was self-sabotage. The biggest surprise was my personal life. 6 months back, I'd started seeing Dr. Lisa Huang, a family counselor I met through my advocacy work. Our relationship grew slowly, grounded in shared values and mutual respect, not fleeting passion. She's not like Mom, Sophie said after meeting Lisa. She actually listens when you talk and doesn't make everything about her. Lisa's work focused on helping families heal from messy divorces, and her insights put my experience in perspective. What you went through isn't rare, she told me early on. Parental alienation, financial manipulation, coordinated fraud, it's more common than people think. These schemes are more common in messy divorces than people realize, Lisa told me, her professional tone softening as we sat over coffee in Burlington, Vermont. You were just better at gathering evidence than most victims. Victims, I echoed, mulling it over. It still feels weird to call myself that. That's because you fought back and won, she said. Most folks in your spot either don't see it coming until it's too late or don't have the tools to fight back. Lisa's calm insight made me feel cautiously hopeful about building something real with her. Someone who saw both my scars and my strength. You gonna marry her? Sophie asked one day, her teenage bluntness cutting through as we worked on a planter in the shed. We're taking it slow, I said, keeping it vague. Good, she replied. I like her, but I'm also liking having you to myself for a bit. It's nice to have a dad who actually shows up. Her words, tossed out casually, hit deep, underlining how much our lives had shifted. I was at every school event now, helping with homework, building the kind of bond I'd always wanted with my kids but had been blocked from by Amanda's games. Speaking of showing up, Sophie said, her voice quieter, I got a letter from Chloe yesterday. My stomach tightened. Despite the restraining order, Chloe still found ways to reach out to her sister, usually with dramatic pleas or bitter accusations about our family's collapse. What did she say this time? She's pregnant, Sophie said softly. The guy she was seeing bailed when he found out. She's scared, alone, and asking if we can help. A tangle of emotions hit me. Pity for Chloe's situation, frustration at her endless bad choices, and a fierce need to protect Sophie, who still wrestled with guilt over our family's implosion. What do you want to do? I asked carefully. Sophie was silent for a long moment, her brow furrowed. I want to help, but Chloe's never owned up to what she did to us. If we step in now, will she learn anything, or just expect us to clean up her messes forever? It was a sharp, grown-up question for a 15-year-old, and I felt a swell of pride at her ability to weigh the emotional and practical sides. That's exactly the right thing to ask, I said. What's your gut saying? That she's still the same person who helped tear us apart, Sophie said, her voice tinged with sadness, but steady. Being pregnant doesn't magically make her trustworthy. I feel bad for her, but I can't fix her. I nodded, seeing this as a big step in Sophie's growth. She was learning the line between compassion and enabling, between forgiveness and self-protection. I've got your back, whatever you decide, I said. I'm proud of you for thinking it through like this. Will you help me write her back? She asked. Something kind but clear about boundaries. We spent the evening drafting a letter that wished Chloe well, but said we couldn't offer money or emotional support. It acknowledged her tough spot while making it clear that any reconciliation would need real accountability, not just a crisis-driven plea. A month later, Principal Hargrove called me out of the blue. Mr. Thompson, Chloe came by my office yesterday, he said. She asked if Sophie mentioned her recent letter. I told her Sophie's personal business isn't mine to share, but that she's doing great in school and seems emotionally solid. He paused. Chloe seemed, I don't know, broken maybe, or like she's starting to face reality. A faint spark of hope flickered in me, but I'd learned not to bet on Chloe's fleeting moments of clarity. Did she say anything else? She asked if I thought you and Sophie would ever forgive her, Hargrove said. I told her forgiveness is earned over time, not something she can demand or trick people into giving. How'd she take that? I asked Principal Hargrove about Chloe's reaction to his words on forgiveness. She cried, he said. Not manipulative tears or angry ones, just raw sadness. Maybe she's starting to grasp what she threw away. That night, I shared the conversation with Lisa over dinner in our Burlington, Vermont home. She listened with her usual quiet focus. Do you think you'll ever have a relationship with Chloe again? She asked. I weighed the question carefully. Someday I might forgive her for my own peace, I said, but the kind of deep trust you need for a real father-daughter bond, that's gone after what she did. And you're okay with that? I have to be, I said. Some bridges can't be rebuilt, some ties can't be mended, but that doesn't mean I'm broken. It just means I'm putting my energy into people who value it. Lisa nodded, her eyes reflecting respect for the hard-earned clarity in my words. That's about the healthiest mindset you could have, she said. 6 months later, I was back in the same Montpelier courthouse where my life had turned upside down. But this time I was there to support another dad in a similar mess. The guy, a reserve bookkeeper named Greg Larson, had uncovered his own version of Amanda's New Start scheme, and I was helping him navigate the legal and emotional minefield. "I don't know how you stayed so steady through all this," Greg said as we waited for his hearing. "I feel like I'm losing my mind half the time." "You're not losing it," I told him. "You're having a normal reaction to a crazy situation. The trick is to channel that energy into gathering evidence and thinking strategically, not just reacting emotionally." Watching Greg's case play out, I realized how much I'd grown in the past 2 years. The guy who'd been paralyzed by betrayal was now guiding others through the same storm with a calm I barely recognized. "You're building something real here," Lauren said after Greg's hearing went in his favor. "This advocacy, this organization, it's changing lives." I nodded, a sense of purpose settling deep in my bones. "It's wild," I said. "I spent 19 years trying to be the man my family wanted, and I was miserable. Now I'm being who I was always meant to be, and I've never felt more alive." "Even without Chloe?" Lauren asked. "Especially because of the loss," I said. "I had to lose what I thought I wanted to find what I really needed." That evening, I sat with Sophie and Lisa on our back porch, watching the sunset over our quiet Vermont town. Sophie was practicing a speech for an upcoming conference on kids' rights in family court cases. "The biggest thing adults need to get," she read from her notes, "is that kids want to love both their parents. When we're forced to pick sides or help destroy one parent, we're not protecting anyone. We're being used." I felt a familiar swell of pride and awe at Sophie's wisdom. She'd turned her pain into insight that could spare other families the same wreckage. "That's powerful, kiddo," Lisa said softly. "You're going to help a lot of people with that." As the sky darkened, I reflected on the road that brought me here. 2 years ago, I was a shattered man, fighting to hold together a family that was hell-bent on destroying me. Now I was building something better, relationships rooted in honesty and respect, work that gave my life meaning, and a sense of worth no one could take away. The man they tried to erase was gone, but the man in his place was exactly who I was meant to be: stronger, wiser, and free to love and be loved by people who saw my value. My phone buzzed with a text from Travis. "Caught your university speech on the news. Proud of you, man." I smiled and typed back, "Thanks. It's been a hell of a ride. Worth it." Travis replied, "Damn right." I looked at my little family. Sophie, focused on tweaking her speech. Lisa reading quietly beside me. The calm home we'd built from the ashes of betrayal. "Every step," I typed back. "Every single step."